Hey everyone, it's Sheriff here, and today we're talking about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Yeah, that one. So basically, I don't hate it. It's definitely not the worst game ever made. It's definitely not as bad as Gotham Knights or the Avengers game. Those games do something better, but I don't hate it. I dare I say like it. But I shouldn't. And we'll get to that. It's hard to talk about this game without talking about the development. So this was supposed to be out 6 months ago. They pushed it back, sort of to wind down on the live service elements, which yay for us. It still has some of that, but less than it should. It sort of started out life as a live service game, as ordered by WB Games. Rocksteady just put their head down and made the game they were supposed to. And I think they did an okay-ish job. We're gonna try to keep this spoiler free. I'll only show like gameplay and cutscenes from the first like couple of hours. I have beat the full game. I didn't get a code. You know, me and IGN have that in common. Like Rocksteady's not paying me to say this. The easiest way to like summarize this game is that it's got a lot of parts that just don't work together at all. Like the Arkham games were so influential and literally everyone ripped them off, but then this time around, like Rocksteady's following rather than leading, and it's not great. And that sort of like blows up on their face because they're like, "Oh, I'll take some of this and I'll take some of this," and it's just a bunch of different parts in one game, and nothing really works at all. The combat, though, okay. What I do like, well, the good stuff first, is to keep this short. The combat is genuinely really fun. It's like impossible to tell what's going on sometimes. There's always like 10,000 things on screen. I like the fact that my brain sort of lags behind my fingers. It's sort of that almost Vampire Survivors sort of way, where there's too much going on and my neurons are firing faster than they should. I just like being waterboarded by a rainbow. The shooting feels great, but every weapon feels the same. Like there's no real difference between shotguns. They're all basically the same. I ended up just sticking to like one of the good weapons I got early on, and I just carry that all the way to the end game. You can like sort of overhaul it or like re-roll its stats. If you like a weapon, you can just keep it forever, honestly. I never really felt the need to be like, oh, I'm always getting better loot or better weapons. You get like a penguin loot crate and it would just be a worse weapon. The good stuff. The combat's more weighted towards traversal rather than shooting. Like, I would say it's 70% traversal. The main goal is to sort of get around enemies and never stop moving. Like, if you just stand still and hide behind cover, you will die. There's, like, snipers, and then a tank will show up, and then a helicopter, and then someone explodes near you. The enemy variety, they sort of look the same, but there's definitely more than two, I heard somebody say. You got, like, you know, your basic grunts, and you got your melee grunts, and snipers, and a bunch of others. It's not the most diverse. They all look the same. It's hard to tell them apart. They're targets, essentially. It's sort of like Vampire Survivors or Doom Eternal, where enemies are just, like, resources. Like, they'll give you shields or whatever you need or ammo. You can, like, counter them, which was cool. Like a ranged counter or a parry. I did play the game through single player, and it sort of works. Like, the AI is fine. You do sort of carry the team, but they don't really get in your way, and they do sort of help. But then I played it again in a multiplayer, and you can sort of, like, divvy up tasks. Like, we'd have Deadshot sort of dealing all snipers, and then me, Boomerang, would just shield bash everyone, so everyone had shields all the time. There's no real like team synergy. Like everyone's sort of doing their own thing. There's no like healer or tank or whatever. Like you don't unlock like a team ability till level 27, I think. That's when I unlock boomers, which again feels like a missed opportunity. Like you have this squad-based, team-based game without any squad-based, team-based abilities really. And the squad themselves, they're like really cool. I like them. Again, it's weird because they have so much character. Like in your looter shooter like Borderlands or whatever. And this is more looter shooter rather than live service. Like all the quality of life is here that you would need. Like the other characters would auto equip better weapons rather than you going to their menus and equipping them. They don't level up by themselves, which is a bit of a pain. Like my Boomerang was level 15 while King Shark was like level 3. Not really contributing, but I guess they want you to play as every character and level them up yourself. I heard people talk about like the melee being not good, and I'm like, it's a shooter? The biggest complaint went, oh, it's just like a single button press, and that's shallow. And then you look up like Doom Eternal, and oh look, the best combat game in the world has a one button melee. Ooh, it's almost like that's how melee is in a shooter game. Okay, but the characters are like all great. They all more or less play the same except for their traversal, which again is about 70% of the combat. I mainly played as Boomer because he's the quickest and he's got a cool boomerang and he's cool. Other than that, it was between Boomer or Harley Quinn. Like the overall story and presentation is a bit hit or miss. I like this sort of thing. I'm stupid, I know, but it's sort of that cringe video game, like dark comedy stuff. Like it's not gonna win any awards. I find it funny most of the time. The characters are pretty funny. There's a bunch of characters that show up that don't really do anything other than act as vendors. They don't really have an arc, which is not uncommon for a looter shooter main character, but these characters have too much character, so it's just dull. Like, I don't know what the Awakened one, whatever it is in Destiny, no one really cares about them. It's more about Nathan Fillion's character, whatever the hell his name is. I haven't played Destiny much. But yeah, you have these self-insert characters who are their own character, who don't have any character development. Anyway, the story, again, a lot of people don't like it because how they deal with Batman and stuff. No spoilers. I feel like Rocksteady's done with Batman, and it shows. They've done this like 4 Batman games. I think they've told as much Batman story as they could, and that's all I'll say about that because we're keeping it spoiler free. All the cutscenes and like facial animations are like genuinely amazing. Like the story's not too long, which I actually liked. Like I don't have time to play a 60-hour game. I sort of appreciate when games are a bit shorter. So the game is about like that long. It took me about 20-ish hours. I did all the side objectives and stuff as I was playing. So that's just me. I have time for that though. Yeah, but the writing, the characters, like I liked all of that. It was enough to get me through the levels. I feel that core of good gameplay and like fun characters is solid. Everything else, yeah, let's get to the not good stuff. Metropolis, the city you're in, sort of falls in the gray area where it looks quite nice. Like it's a genuinely well-made, like well-designed city. It's twice as big as Gotham from Arkham Knight, but you can't tell because you're moving around it so quickly. All you really see are rooftops, and like you can't make a rooftop fun. The city doesn't really feel like lived in. It would have been cool to have like, I don't know, enemy factions like Argus troopers just fighting Brainiac troops, or like Lois Lane is in this. She's in one cutscene. It would have been cool to have some like Lois Lane side quests where you're helping refugees or something. I don't know. The only real like activity to do in the city is Riddler trophies or like shooting drones. And then there's the level design where you're really only doing like 4 to 5 different missions, like go someplace, kill enemies, protect payload, protect points, rescue civilians. I think that's about it, and that's what you're doing for the entirety of the game. It's sort of made to be as like replayable as possible. Like a cutscene would happen, and then you'd go into gameplay, and then there's like no correlation between them. After mission ends, you just stand there, and Amanda Waller would just say something on the comms, and then back to gameplay, and it doesn't add anything. Like there's no correlation between like gameplay and story. They're sort of 2 separate beings, both just haunting the same game. Like, when comparing it to, like, character action, like games that are sort of propelled by their combat and gameplay, those are, like, combat arenas. But the thing is, like, there's no set piece. There's no, like, Uncharted plane moment. There's, like, a Zeppelin in this game, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna fight on that Zeppelin while it's crashing down, and it's gonna be cool, and nothing like that really happens. There's only, like, 2 or 3, like, authored parts of this game. The first one's pretty cool, the Batman part. But the rest of the game is just like randomly generated almost. That's how it feels anyway. And then there's the boss fights, which I guess they sort of meet the criteria. Like a good boss fight is supposed to be like a skill check, right? The premise itself, Kill the Justice League, is pretty great. Like it would make for amazing boss fights. Sort of like God of War, where you're killing a pantheon of gods and every boss fight is pretty epic because you're killing a god. It doesn't feel that way here. You're mainly just dodging most of the time and then shooting them some of the time. It works in the framework, but it's not like epic or cool or good. It's not a set piece. It's not memorable. It sort of like lets the game down and lets like the premise down. It could have been so much better. I did like Evil Justice League. It gave me like serious The Boys vibes, like with Flash especially. They're pretty terrifying because they really show off how powerful they are until the boss fight comes around and they're just targets. Okay, and then there's the live service elements. Like the end game is just grinding out missions until you can go to like Earth 2 or like the multiverse or whatever to kill other enemies or something, I don't even know. And you just grind that out forever until they release the next expansion or Suicide Squatter. And the story doesn't end. Like there's no like clear ending to the story. It just like the game ends and I'm like, do I stop playing now? But the game keeps going and I'm like, when do I stop playing? Never is the answer. How they're paying for these free expansions are like cosmetic items, but there's not that many. Like there's 4 sets in the game and they give you 2 just for pre-ordering. I would have preferred to just pay for the DLC or like a season pass rather than them just keeping the cosmetics to themselves. Like I would have liked a new suit for Boomer. You know how sort of like in Spider-Man you unlock like a new suit every 2 minutes almost. But no, it's free or whatever. It'll be finished in like a year or two. That's if they do finish it. There is the promise of like more coming soon for free, but like I paid full price for this game. I would have liked it now or like delay it more or whatever. That's why like if you're gonna play this game, wait a year when everything is out or nothing comes out. I really liked it though. There's so many different parts to this game. Like I haven't even gone over like all the weapon customization or like upgrades and stuff. The upgrade tree is sort of bland. Like you really only get 2 new abilities, like your Suicide Strike or you like an AOE thing, like a special or whatever. The rest is just like, oh, your shotgun does more damage, or like you get more shields when you do this. Like Harley's tree is sort of around explosives. Like she gets more grenades, she spawns more grenades. Melee spawns more grenade ammo, that sort of stuff. While Boomer's more around like shield overcharging, so he gets more shields when he does this, so he can stay in combat and sort of tank everything and just keep getting more health. There's like legendary weapons that like have evil villain abilities or something like Bane or Black Mask. Poison Ivy does like different elemental effects on your weapons and grenades, which are sort of useful-ish. And each vendor has their own like side quest chain, which is just them asking you to do different missions but with like different criteria. Like you can only do damage with crits, or I don't know, healing doesn't work or something. I don't even know. I swear I like this game. But yeah, it's got like all these parts. Like it's got this story about these fun characters doing fun like immoral hijinks, and then it's got this like hectic, fast-paced combat, and then it's got like the most dog shit level design. It's like caviar on a hamburger. It just doesn't work. None of this works together. Like there's no rhyme or reason. It's just all here, all of it in one game. I don't know why. It's like a third person character action game, but with like live service, protect the payload nonsense. It's got a story that doesn't really make sense. It is in the Arkham universe, which people don't like. It's got this premise for epic boss fights, which it doesn't deliver on. The gameplay incentive is to get better weapons, but it gives you the best weapons at the start, so there isn't one. Why is Riddler still in these games? This game is getting a lot of hate, and I think the hate is justified in some aspects, but it's also sort of misplaced. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League sort of represents something we don't want. We don't want live service elements in our single player games. We don't want microtransactions in a full price game. We don't want single player developers to be forced to make online multiplayer games. And unfortunately, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is right in front of us, sort of showcasing everything we don't want in one game, and people hate it. They genuinely do. They have every reason to. I agree completely. Like, all that being said, I just had fun. Like, I like this sort of game. There hasn't been a game like this in a while. I really like Infamous and Sunset Overdrive. Like, the arcadey open world shooter, there hasn't been one in a while. It might just be because I've been playing just the worst games for the last 3 months. Videos coming up. But this was fine. I had fun. Is that a crime? Yes. So basically, TLDR, skip whatever. I like this game, but I'm an idiot. So wait a year or don't. It's not the worst game ever made. It's fine. It's pretty polished. I didn't run into any problems sort of running it on my low-end PC. The bright colors and explosions and numbers coming out appeal to my monkey brain. It's just fine. I like it. You don't have to. It's okay. I miss Batman too. Bye.